So this year I decided to do something about my spending. I ran a cheeky audit, cut out unnecessary expenses, and today I'm going to show you guys how much money that I saved in just 12 months. And spoiler alert, it's a lot. There's a big reveal at the end, so stick around because that total might just actually blow your mind.
Mind's blown. You're welcome.
And look, to set some context on this was spending money outside of my savings and investments that I was just blowing. And some of these costs were split 50-50 with my partner, but even so, they add up hugely. Not only will I show you the exact areas where I cut back on, which I'm sure you've got 3, 4, or even 5 of these knocking around too, maybe even all of them, but I'll also share where all that saved cash went and how you guys can do the same. So let's jump in with the first one, which is subscriptions, which I'm sure you've all got some knocking around too, and they are the sneakiest money suckers of them all. In the UK, the average household spends £620 a year on subscriptions alone, and most of us can't even remember half of what we're actually subscribed to. And the first one for me was Disney Plus. I signed up to watch that Pamela, A Love Story. It was a great show, but I completely forgot I even had it for 6 months after that, and at £8.99 a month, that was £53.94 wasted. And then there was Apple TV Plus. I got it free with Apple Music, then I thought I'd use it all the time, and I ignored it for 4 months, and that was another £43.96 in Tim Cook's pockets. Now, what I've done is started auditing my subscriptions every 3 months, and it turns out I don't need 5 streaming platforms at the same time. And the savings here last year were £97.90. Now, next up, number 2, what we have is impulse shopping. We have all been there. Scrolling social media, minding your own business, and when an ad pops up for something you must have, a phone stand for the shower, obviously, a Peaky Blinders style cap for the races, sign me up. I've fallen for all of it, as have many of you guys too. And here's the thing, the average city dweller sees 10,000 ads a day, and I was falling for way too many of them. To stop the madness, what I did was implement a really simple rule. It's called the 24-hour rule. If I see something go on, I wait 24 hours before I buy it. Most of the time, I forget about it. And for the bigger purchases, anything over £100, I also ask myself, can I afford to buy this twice in cash? And if the answer is no, then it's simply a no-go. That stops me taking out credit or debt to actually fund that purchase. So what I went through was my Amazon account for 2023, because I actually implemented this at the start of 2024, thank God. Now, the total for Amazon alone was £452, bought from impulse purchases. And then there was a big one as well, which was clothes and trainers. And I looked on ASOS and Marks & Spencer's, and that was £330 on ASOS and £280 on Marks & Spencer. And I didn't even look at the smaller one-off purchases, as I'd literally be here all week, but you guys get the gist. So just from these 3 retailers alone, that was £1,062 in 1 year. So that one really does sting a little bit. Now, number 3 is Deliveroo. Convenience equals money, and last year when I was growing my business, Deliveroo was my kryptonite. We were ordering once a week, spending £40 to £50 per order. That's £2,600 a year on takeaways. I might as well have been eating gold-plated burgers, for God's sake, because what we've done now is just cut back a bit, and instead what we've done is dedicated one takeaway night every couple of weeks. Now, not only does this save money, but it also makes takeaways feel like a treat again instead of a habit when I just needed them out of convenience because I was too busy. Plus, I'm eating a lot healthier as well. And for context, the average Deliveroo user spends £483 a year. I was spending twice that, easy, maybe 3, maybe even 4 times that. So what I've calculated the savings for this year was £520. Number 4 is branded food. Now, this one's just a sneak one, and I admit I was a little bit of a food snob. Branded rice, branded pasta, branded ketchup. If it had a shiny label, I was convincing myself that it tasted better. But when I actually started comparing prices and taste, honestly, it was pretty eye-opening. So let's take some real-world examples here. You've got Uncle Ben's rice, which actually sells for £2.50 for 500 grams, and Morrison's own rice you can get for £1. That's 5 times cheaper, and it literally tastes the same. Then you've got things like oat milk, which sells for like £2.50, and then you've got the own brand milk, which is £1.10. The difference is mental. That's over 50% saving every single litre that you're buying of oat milk, for example. So for households that go through things like ketchup or something like that quickly, which we all do in my house because my other half actually literally puts it on everything from roast dinners to bloody cornflakes if she could, this could save you £50 to £100 a year just on ketchup alone. So why does that actually matter? Well, according to research, the average UK household could save £3,240 a year by switching to own brand products. While I'm nowhere near at that level, because yes, I still like a little bit of posh now and then, I have made significant changes. In many cases, the product inside is made by the same manufacturers as the branded version. You are just paying for extra marketing and fancy labels. So by replacing just a handful of branded items in my weekly shop with own brand alternatives, I've saved £400 last year. It's a simple change, but those savings are huge. Now, number 5 is bottled water. We were actually spending £15 a week on bottled water, the bigger ones. Now, that's £780 a year. And I'm not going to get into the whole tap water versus mineral water argument right here today, but safe to say, I'm not drinking UK tap water anymore. Do your research on this stuff, as it's pretty eye-opening. To solve this though, I actually invested in a Water 2 filter from Bear Grylls. You've probably seen those ads knocking around. It costs around about £140 up front, and the annual maintenance on it is around about £100 a year. Now, I get the same crisp, clean taste I thought I was paying for, and I don't have to lug those big 6-packs of Buxtons home every few days, and I feel like I'm actually prepping for the zombie apocalypse as I'm walking down the streets. But the savings aren't just financial here. You do have to actually think about the bottled water and the amount of plastic bottles that we're contributing and chucking away every single year, and that just fills me up with dread when I think where it's going. So the savings on bottled water minus the filter costs saved me £560 last year. Now, number 6 is new iPhones. Now, I am still using my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and guess what? It is absolutely fine. The camera is brilliant, it runs every app I need without a hitch, and what else can a new iPhone possibly do? Could it bake me a cake? Could it wash my car? I mean, this year alone, I made the switch to SIM only. So I'm now only paying £20 a month, and that's saving me £45 a month. And I haven't missed a thing. The average UK smartphone user replaces their phone every 28 months, spending £800 more than necessary over that period. So the savings for me was £65 on my old contracts minus that £20 SIM only. That's £45 a month times 12 months, and that gives me £540 in savings alone a year, just for not using a brand new iPhone every time it comes out. Now, number 7 is Sky TV. Up until the end of 2023, I was paying £90 a month for Sky TV. That was over £1,000 a year for a package which was loaded with every single channel and loads I didn't even know existed, let alone the ones I actually watched. Seriously, when was the last time I needed 24 access to the DIY network or QVC or anything like that? I was mostly actually just using it to watch Netflix and Amazon Prime and BBC iPlayer anyway, which I already paid for or I could access for free. And the only real reason I actually kept Sky was for the football. But when I broke it down, I was spending £1,080 a year to watch maybe 20 matches. And if I broke that down again, that's £54 a game. I could have gone to the ground a lot of times for that price. Not if you're an Arsenal fan though, it is a little bit more expensive. So what did I do? I got a little bit clever. So now I chip into my dad's Sky account and it costs me £20 a month and I get full access to Sky Go. Now, a survey found that 87% of Sky subscribers barely use half the channels in their packages. And if that's not proof we're overpaying for stuff that we don't need, I don't know what is. So the savings there were £90 minus £20. That's £70 a month times 12 months, and that gives us £840 a year. This is really starting to rack up, isn't it? Now, number 8 is nights out. Now, I'm 35 now. Yes, I know I look older. Feel free to let me know in the comments, but something shifted in me in the way that I view nights out. A few years ago, I was that guy, you know, the one in the pub 2-3 times a week, dropping £50 a night on pubs, snacks, and the occasionally poorly thought out round of tequila shots and kebab on the way home. And that added up to a jaw-dropping £7,800 a year on booze and snacks. I wish I was joking, but something changed in me. I think it happens when we hit our 30s. And first I realized I wasn't enjoying it as much because as you get into your 30s, it gets a bit boring anyway. And I started adding up those costs and really realizing what I was doing. And third, I got serious about my health. I was pretty overweight a couple of years ago, and those midweek pub nights weren't helping me in any way, shape or form. Now, what I've done is I've swapped regular nights out for activities. We're playing golf instead, we're playing paddle, we're just hanging out in healthier, cheaper ways. And guess what? I don't miss the pub nearly half as much as I thought I would. And for context, the average Brit spends £70 a month on alcohol, but I was spending 5 times that. Cutting back hasn't just improved my bank balance, it's improved my overall life. So let's take the savings here. £7,800 4,800, my old me, and the new me is around about £3,000 a year. So £4,800 a year in savings, which is just nuts. Now, last one is me being fully bougie, and that is overpriced haircuts. And I'm ashamed to say it, but I was paying £50 every 2 weeks for haircuts at Ted Baker's Turkish Barber in central London. That's £1,300 a year on hot towels, and in all honesty, a pretty average haircut. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a cool experience and it did make me feel better, but when I had a hard look at my budget, I realized I was spending more on haircuts than some people spend on holidays in a year. Now, what I do now is I just go to the local barber, and I met this guy through the gym and he charges £17 a cut, and honestly he does an excellent job. The haircuts are just as good, no hot towels for sure, but I will survive. Now, for context, the average UK man spends £178 a year on haircuts. So I was well above that average and still am, because I want to get my haircut every 2 weeks. Now, the savings there have worked out around about £780 a year, which is just nuts. Right, so let's find out the results. I'm going to add all of this up and see just how much I saved by making these changes over the past year. So subscriptions were first. They were £97.90, impulse shopping £1,062, Deliveroo £520, branded food £400, bottled water £560, new iPhones £540, Sky TV a massive £840, nights out were £4,800, and overpriced haircuts were £780. That's a grand total of £9,599.90 saved in one single year. Now let that sink in. Nearly 10 grand saved on things that I didn't need, barely even noticed, or wasn't even using. And let me remind you that some of these were my personal costs and some of these were split with my partner. So overall, the household savings were increased as well. Now, where did this money go? Over half of what I saved has gone into our joint short-term savings, specifically a couple of Monzo pots that's earning interest that's earmarked for things like new furniture and upgrades for our new house when we do move later this year. We also paid for a holiday to Italy earlier in the year too with the savings that we've made. Now, the rest I've actually reallocated to things that actually provide me value. So yes, I have respent that money, specifically on a personal trainer, personalized supplements, and some training gear. And I've lost 3.5 stone this year, and I'm really only part of the way to where I want to get to with my fitness. Now, instead of wasting money on things that didn't truly serve me, I've redirected it into something meaningful, something that will actually genuinely improve our quality of life and my personal health along the way as well. And I definitely encourage you guys to do an audit on your spending. It will 100% open your eyes to things like this. Being a touch more mindful can lead to massive gains in both your life financially and personally. Now, I think the best video to follow on from this is my Stop Believing That Your Income is the Problem video, which goes into some more detail around the psychology of spending money and how we can stop the rot from all of these ads that we see everywhere every single day. And it should be coming up on your screen right now, and I'll see you guys over there so we can continue learning more together. It's been real fun, and I'll catch you over there. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!